order the regular scheduled council meeting for Monday, April 22nd, 2019. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Maldonado. Walker.
Present.
Vasquez.
Present.
Garcia.
Present.
Orange. Present.
Present.
Perez.
Present.
Present. Madam Clerk, for the record, Councilwoman Maldonado did call. She does have a family emergency. First thing on the agenda is to call to order the public hearing. Ordinance 19-0003. Do we have someone to speak on this?
Good evening, everyone. Milton Reed, City's Economic Development Consultant. This particular, are there any questions about the ordinance? Or how much would you like me to?
Tell us what the program is.
Okay, so basically this ordinance for roof repair projects in city-owned buildings, the city over a period of time has acquired quite a few, and it really is the same for the North Harbor Facade Program. We've acquired quite a few properties, and these properties are in different states of repair, and they are, and I'll give you an example, like say, for example, if you get a property and there's roof damage, it only does further damage to the interior. So when you get a building, you had a responsibility to shore it up. You don't know the immediate next step, but when you're controlling the property in the area, when you're trying to revitalize an area, you can have more, you can have it fit the vision better, the more properties that you have and that you control. So this ordinance is to say, hey, you know, we have several facades out there that we're doing. And if you can see, even in the North Harbor corridor, you see some private facades going up. You see some public facades going up. The masonry work, we're not doing these, the 1-2 aluminum siding. We're putting something. The aging stock is so old, but it's still the core structure of the building is good enough where you don't necessarily have to demolish all of it. But when you can skim off the top with the demolition, put that brick facade up, new windows, new doors, awnings, lighting, upgrade some of the electrical to get to the outdoor lighting, maybe even put it so they can have cameras and things like that. It's just a massive citywide effort to upgrade things that have just been around for many, many years. And it becomes dilapidated, it sits, no one wants it. Again, just a few examples. Galleria is another example. I mean, it never did lately do what it was supposed to do since its heyday. And, that it's a hole in it, though. It has to be done. You have to get engineering work done. You have to get some structural work done, but you've got to shore it up. You've got to stop the damage and the bleeding, which leads to mold. It leads to all kind of problems. So this collectively is a series of multiple projects and things like that is just furthering the vision of what you've been seeing across the city.
Milton, the concern that the council expressed on April 8th, when this was first considered at the public hearing, was not whether the projects would be worthwhile. As the legislative and funding body, they expressed a concern that there's a request for an additional appropriation of a large amount of money, $2.5 million, yet unless it's been provided, and if it has, I apologize, no breakdown, no written itemized breakdown has been given to the council members of which city-owned building roof repair projects and what amounts and what the cost of the North Harbor Facade Program is. They've simply been given a blank or a fixed final number of $2.5 million with no breakdown of the specific itemized uses of the $2.5 million. If that's already been provided to council members, I don't have a copy, that's fine. But that was the need that was expressed 2 weeks ago when the public hearing was continued. do you have an itemized breakdown of how the administration wants to spend $2.5 million?
Well, let me speak to that by reference of an example. Okay, so there is a building that is in the North Harbor. It's a very large building. It is owned by a private owner. We've been in the building. We know there's some damage that's going to need some work, but structurally, it's a great building. There can be a masterful plan for the city and for the area. However, we don't own the building, so we're limited. We're in final negotiations, and some of these things in the best format of being open to the public, it's like saying, hey, if we're going to put, I'll give again, I'm just using examples, if we're going to put Unity Plaza on 3700 block of Main, if you announce it to everybody that own the lots ahead of time, where the price of tea in China just went up through the roof and you can no longer do the project and it stays an empty vacant lot. So this is an example where this is a large project. You know, it's going to be a lot of money, but we cannot even invest the engineering work to get the actual specs, because you can't do that because you don't actually own the building. But we know through the owners and through final negotiations that everyone is getting closer to agreement, but there's a process the city has to go through before you buy a building. You have to get appraisals. You have to do the codes and statutes that we have to follow. We don't break any of them. And so it takes some time, but if you wait until all of this comes, and then you're trying to do your appropriations, then you're missing your window for your progress. You're missing your window for your project and everything. So some of these things with the city is asking that we kind of merge simultaneously, so that we can find a way to have the things available. So is there a laundry list of specific with engineer specs on each and everything? No, but there is. We know a pretty good...
That's not what the council was concerned about. They weren't asking for detailed engineering specs. Does a breakdown exist that can be given to the council that is a breakdown of the specific dollar amounts that make up the total of $2.5 million on a project-by-project basis?
And this is what I'm saying. You can't give a specific dollar amount unless you have the engineering calculations and costs. That's what I said. I said there's there are estimates by project, but there's, like I said, before you cut me off, I said there's not a laundry list of every single thing and the engineering specific.
Okay, excuse me, Mr. Reed. Yes or no?
I just said there is not.
Okay.
I said that 3 times.
So, okay, no then.
Okay.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes, Milton, thank you for coming before us.
Okay.
And as I read this, it says ordinance for contractual service for roof repair projects for city-owned buildings, all right? So the roof repairs are only for city-owned buildings,
Mm-hmm.
right? No private.
Correct.
All right.
Absolutely.
And
No private.
And then the North Harbor Facade Program is for businesses.
Well, this is business, but this is also when you say business, it's also for buildings that we own, but there's no residential in here.
Okay, so there's no,
There's no residential in this facade program.
so it's just businesses.
It's businesses,
Okay,
correct.
all right.
Mhm.
So, is there a breakdown how much is going to the North Harbor Facade Program? The other one?
Versus the North Harbor versus the roof, it's again, there is no specific list of what the breakdown is. And again, just by example, just trying to give you the what it is. Like, say for example, we call it Dr. K's office, or some people call it the old Walgreens down there. Now again, I know for a fact that I have an estimate for the facade only that's about at least $250,000. That's about what it is for that facade. It has windows, it has it's going to look new. Like you see how those other buildings down there, they'll look new. They will look new. But again, it's something that we can't even begin the bidding process because the funds have to be in place.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes. Do you have a list of properties that the city owns that you think that might fall under this?
Well, there is a list of city properties that the city owns. Yes, we do have a list like that, and further, we have distressed properties from distressed owners that we are eyeing. We have a general idea of what those properties are as well. Again, because some come on tax sale, some are delinquent for a number of reasons. Some, the owner is just, the owner passed and somebody's deceased and say, hey, this has been dilapidated, there's a demolition order on it, I just don't want this property anymore. What can I do to get it off my hands and not have a lien on it, what have you? So it's not always just cut and dry, but it's more like strategic is where we are. Yes, I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Vasquez?
Milton, $2.5 million. So you must have an idea at least about around how many properties already are in, that you have on your list that you're looking at to do these roofs for?
Yeah, there are, I hate to throw a set number out, but there are several. I just go through I can go through some of the ones, like say for example, the PNC Bank building. That bank building has been sitting for a while, and the things that you have to do with the stone and the windows and the roof there, because there's a drainage issue, we pretty much know that because there's a drainage issue that may be on the roof to the vault that's causing an issue, what have you. So we've got to get up there and take a look at all of these things. So that's another building. That's a major expense between roof and facade. It's a beautiful building, and it would be, I think, we would be ashamed to tear it down, but I think we can use something, and that's one of the prime corners. So again, it's just things like that, all up and down the Main Street corridor, quietly just seeking things and shoring them up.
Councilman Medina?
Mr. Reed, Mr. Rivera was here at the last meeting.
Okay.
He made mention to a program, roofing program for private, public venture type of thing. Do you know anything about that?
I know a little bit about it. So what it is that now that is more, as you know, the Department of Redevelopment, they have many programs from different sets of dollars where they can do things to help actual homeowners in terms of revitalization and like the Sunnyside facade program and things like that. So this program, and Frank will be able to speak to it in a lot of detail, but this program is going to provide assistance, because we know that when we do help someone that cannot do their own roof, we're just keeping the value of our community, the home property values and things like that. We're keeping it up because, again, as the roof goes, so does the rest of the house. So this is the program ministered through his office, and many of your constituents have been calling in and saying, hey, how can I get on the list? It's really been taken off. The phone has been ringing off the hook, but it is very similar to the Sunnyside facade program for those eligible residents. And you fill out the application, and then there's just a list of how that goes, and so that's what that program that he probably spoke to.
Yes, and he got up to speak as if this $2.5 million was funding that program.
Well,
Councilman, that is a redevelopment department program, Mr. President, members of the council, excuse me. That is a redevelopment program with a separate source of funding. That has nothing to do with this ordinance.
Why was he here presenting himself as if?
After I heard him too, I was a bit confused too as to what he intended to say to the council members, but for clarity, that's a different program, and it's redevelopment funded.
Block grants.
It can be at times. This additional appropriation request is not the same thing.
Totally different.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Orange?
So, I'm going to try to help you out here, Milton.
thank you.
So, you got $2.5 million.
Yes.
I'm going to use 1.5 on the facade program, and I'm going to use $1 million on the roofing program.
Mhm.
Those two can't merge, because you got to know how much you're going to, if the businesses are there and they're going to use the facade program, you either say, I know it's an 80-20 match, or 90-10, or however you guys figure it out. But you got to kind of have an idea about, because you guys been doing that for some time. 50,000 for one roof, or 100,000 for a roof, so a guesstimate. And I think the council's not trying to pin you down as to exact amount for each thing, but you got to have a roundabout. So if you're going to use $1 million for roofs, then fine. If you're going to use $1.5 million for the facade program, fine. But I think when you merge those two together, is not the same. You can't merge those two if you're saying that we're doing roof. I understand that if they're doing the whole thing, I'll just take for instance, the new FOP building that you guys are putting down. So you had to put a roof on there, so that roof had to cost about, you know how much that roof costs, $100,000, $200,000, even though you had to do other stuff, because we're talking about the roofs, and that's what you have in here, and that's the sticking point, I think, in the ordinance.
Okay.
Is that you got roofs and facade,
Okay.
and you really can't merge the two of them past that, because I know you're saying, talking about the drainage and all of that, but if you're just saying it's using for roof, I think that the ordinance should have been so that to repair the elderly buildings in the North Harbor corridor that you guys have, gotten, that you guys have purchased, that way that, those things can be fixed, because I know once you fix the roof, then you got to do the drains and everything like that, but I just think if you guys just do a breakdown of how much you're going to spend on roofs, how much you're going to spend on the facade program, because you had a budget for facade before, I think $1 million or something for facade.
Yes.
So you got to know how much you're going to be using.
Well, and okay, and so like I said, whatever the pleasure of the council, of course, I don't write the ordinance. I just more or less speak to the management of the projects, and I can speak to you to the general vision and the scope of what's going on. And what I'm saying is that yes. So, and let's just use the 3727 Main Street, the facade. Well, let's come around and use 2105. I had a number right on my head. That's across on Broadway, 2105 Broadway. All of that facade work that you see going on there combined, that's about $155,000. And a smaller building. It's not a small building, but it's not a large building. So you could, if you want to go rule of thumb, maybe saying, okay, yes, this will lean more towards facade, masonry work, windows, and things like that. It may be heavily balanced out like that. But again, if your request is for it to be separated, just whatever you articulate, I can speak to the overall pot of money, if you want to call it that, and what the vision of and what it will be used for. That's the only thing I can really speak to. It's out of my jurisdiction to really speak to how the ordinance is written or what that goes to. But I certainly can tell you is that, even if you separate the money, you can say, is it safe to say, but again, some of it depends to the extent of the roof damage. Because again, if you look at Galleria, it's almost like there is no roof on a certain section of it, versus it's not just a go in and patch and do this and do that. You have things like, and again, you have things like Penn Center. Penn Center, there is interest in Penn Center. Some of these things we try to sell as is, but some things you have to have it where somebody can go in. You have to get the mold. There are certain things you have to do, and then certain other things you have to do even to winterize. So there are, again, and I acknowledge that there is not a full list, but just to let you know that these are the type of things that you see in each and every area, Chicago Avenue. I mean, these are the type of programs that we're doing, and so we'll just take back whatever feedback you ask us to.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes, you got any businesses going through the facade program right now?
Yes.
That's spending?
Yes, businesses going through, oh yes, many. Yes.
Is that money appropriated already for that, or is that coming out of this amount?
Well, the ones that have been approved recently by the Economic Development Commission through, and I can go back, say, through 2018, maybe some of 2017, all that money has been there. And those are, some are 50-50 match, some are 80-20 match. But the work you're seeing right now, like down across from Divinity, those money were already done. If you see anybody doing work, they have a PO and the money has already been there. But again, it doesn't stop there because we know what's coming. We're getting applications and interest. I mean, when people see the buzz, I mean, it's just phone is ringing off the hook. Before, when we first started, we was like, man, why is anybody? When we started getting out there knocking on doors, and when people saw the first one, it's very difficult to turn it down. Main Sporting Good, they'll be next. Divinity Funeral Home. I mean, a lot of people want to get into the program. You cannot beat it, and this is what revitalization looks like.
Councilman Garcia?
Yeah, is there an issue maybe if they do the engineering work and then they get us the estimates and then come before us and ask for appropriation? Is there an issue with that?
That is generally counter to most most business practices, because engineering is not cheap, and to spend that cost and not have funds, what we try to do, and the best way to do is you look at total cost of ownership of a project. That includes everything from your soil borings, your engineering, your construction design release, everything. And Doug will attest that, we are in the format of, we're trying to get out of change orders, we're trying to get out of things. So when we present something financially as a management team, I'm saying anything you could think of and a 5-10% contingency for what I don't know is underground once the demolition starts. Here's the total cost of that ownership. So we're trying to execute and trying to get the rest of the project managers to be on a very efficient, professional level with these projects, because these are not small dollars. We acknowledge that.
Any other questions for Mr. Reed? Thank you.
Thank you.
I now open up the podium to see who is for or against ordinance 19-0003. I'm closing the public hearing portion of the meeting. Councilwoman Orange.
Mr. President and colleagues, I have ordinance 19-0.
Excuse me, Councilwoman, can I get a motion to accept the minutes first, please?
So moved, Mr. President. So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilwoman Orange, to accept the minutes for the regular scheduled meeting on Monday, April 28th, or April 8th, 2019. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francis,
Yes. Councilwoman Orange, it's all yours.
Mr. President
Yes, ma'am.
and colleagues, I would like to amend the agenda to add on ordinance 19-0008 to the agenda.
Second, Mr. President.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilman Medina, to add to the agenda ordinance 19-0008. Any questions?
For clarification, Mr. President, Councilwoman, you intend to add that under first reading?
Yes, first reading.
To add ordinance 19-0008 on first reading. Any questions on the motion? Councilman Medina?
She's adding this to the agenda, not adopting it on any reading at this
Right.
point.
Right. Okay. Just adding? So we're not hearing it on first reading it? We're just adding it?
Adding it to be considered under the first reading portion of the agenda.
Yes.
Let's just add it and we'll.
Yeah.
She can see where she wants it at. How's that?
Okay.
Clerk. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francis,
Yes. Councilman Garcia.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda and add resolution 19-0006.
Second.
move.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to add resolution 19-0006 to the agenda. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francis,
Yes. Madam Clerk, do we have any communications from the mayor? Any communications from department heads?
Yes, accounts payable warrant 040519CC, accounts payable warrant 042219, accounts payable warrant 042219LA, and accounts payable warrant 042219.
So move.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Medina, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to accept payroll warrant miscellaneous, payroll warrants as read. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk?
Walker?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Garcia?
No.
Owens?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Francisco?
Yes.
Payroll warrants miscellaneous 041219.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman, was that Monroe or Medina? I'm sorry.
Medina.
Medina, to accept payroll warrant miscellaneous 041219. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Owens?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Francisco?
Yes. Do we have any committee reports? Any board reports? Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances on first reading?
Yes. Ordinance 19-0007, sponsored Mayor Anthony Copeland. Additional appropriation ordinance, East Chicago Parks and Recreation Fund, Park improvement.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to hear ordinance 19-0007. Was that first or second reading?
First reading.
On first reading. Any discussion on the motion? Councilman Garcia?
Yes. Thank you for coming before us and giving us a list and breakdown. I see you got fountains in the park. Where are those fountains going to be at?
So this
Excuse me,
is
can we have your name and rank, please?
Myra Costa, Director of Parks and Recreation. This will be Phase 1. Phase 1 would be to implement or to install water fountains in the existing buildings in the parks.
Okay. Other one, soccer field in Markstown.
Yes, this is for purchase of soccer goals and also to do the lining so that we could have a soccer
So you're
field.
going to have permanent goals in there?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I see you got fencing at Nunez Park. I know they have some fencing, but where's the rest of that fencing?
So when they demolished the old Lincoln School, they left a large gap, and now there's a large entryway and missing fencing in the back. So we want to complete that so it could be fully enclosed.
Is that part of the park department also?
Yes, there's a part that belongs to the park.
If I could ask you, if you could ride by there, because I know we get that north and south wind, and a lot of that sand is coming off of there and is going to the street, it's going to the neighbors across the street. If there could be some type of barrier put there so that sand won't be coming, all the way across the street, but even the people across the street is getting sand in their yards and everything else. But this is that north and south wind that's blowing it.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Councilman Medina?
Listed here fountains in the park. These are drinking fountains,
Correct. It's drinking fountains.
100,000?
Correct. So that is Phase 1, to purchase drinking fountains and install them in the existing buildings. Phase 2 would be to actually start doing the water lines, brand-new water lines, and installing brand-new water fountains throughout the park.
How many fountains are we going to purchase? That's quite a bit of money for...
Correct. We're trying to do as many as we can. For example, Washington Park, we're able to use the bathrooms and install 2, one on each side. We're able to do Sunnyside as well. It's as many as we could do with 100,000.
Should be able to do a lot.
Right.
$100,000.
It's hiring the plumber to run all the water lines as well, not only,
They're not existing?
correct.
I had one question. I have 2 parks in my district with either park doesn't have a building. What are they going to drink?
For yours specifically, we are going to see if we could get something from the community center, because the community center does have water inside.
Okay, that's for Roxana. How about for Kosciuszko then?
That one, the pool house.
Okay.
We could
Now
get
those
some
will be
there.
hooked up. I know they're on the side already, so, okay, thank you.
Excuse me, what about Raleigh Park?
Riley Park, we do have the hall, the Riley Park Hall. We have some of the HUDs. There is a bathroom facility, an outdoor bathroom facility, that we have to see if we are able. It's whenever we're able to get some plumbing out, the easiest way and the most affordable way to get something out.
But there will be water fountains?
That's our goal.
Are you
Anything that has a building would have a water fountain.
Okay, are you going to repair the bathrooms that's there?
That is not on this list, but we do have, with our own budget, if we could afford to at least fix a lot of the bathrooms, because a lot of the bathrooms are in disrepair. Even the ones in Washington Park, they should be cleaned. Maybe some new bathroom stalls needs to be installed. Some of those are also, the roof is not in the best condition, so there's a lot of maintenance that needs to be done in general for all the parks.
Councilwoman Orange?
So is it safe to say that you are considering all parks throughout the city, which is how many parks, 16?
We have about 20.
And so you're considering all parks, Sunnyside, Callahan?
Everything
even
that has a
small
building.
That has a building. If it doesn't have a building, then it's not considered.
Correct. Then that's phase 2, when we're actually going to run water lines under the ground and bring water fountains, drinking fountains throughout. Some of the parks already had some drinking fountains. I know they haven't been working for a while. I don't think that we should repair them because we don't know if those water lines have lead. So I think we should just eliminate them and redo it all brand new.
That's what I was going to ask you. Have they been tested, the ones that are existing now, have they been tested for lead?
They have not.
But they will before you invest this money, right?
Well, this would be towards the building, so that would be all new water lines. Phase 2 would be to actually do the standalone drinking fountains throughout the parks, and for those, we would either have to test them first to make sure they're safe, or invest in doing repiping everything with new lines.
Councilwoman Vasquez?
So if this ordinance is passed, when would they be starting on this for phase 1?
So there's a list of things we need to do. As soon as we could get at least 3 quotes from 3 different plumbers.
And in phase 2?
Phase 2, probably next year. There's not enough money this year to get it done.
Councilman Garcia?
Yeah, that brings me to my next question. So this is phase 1, this is asking for money for phase 1, correct?
Correct.
The Nunez Trail, is going to go the entire length of Nunez Park all the way to the end where Lincoln used to be?
Correct. It'll be around the park the way the other parks are.
So it'll go all
Yes.
the way to the end?
Correct, all around.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The only one I got is, when are we going to start maybe possibly putting in some dog parks? I know I get on your heels for that, but is that maybe possibly in phase 2? I mean, even maybe in the 3 larger parks, Todd, Kosciuszko, and Washington possibly?
So I'm a dog lover, so I definitely want a dog park. I want a skateboard park. There's so many things that I would like to implement. But I think, to be fair, there's a lot of parks that don't have trails yet. There's a lot of parks that don't have shelters yet. So I think to be just even across the board, we should get all the parks where they need to be before we start implementing new things and then upset some people that, now there's a dog park here, but I don't have a shelter. I don't have a walking trail.
Councilman
I
Monroe?
understand, you mentioned a skateboard. I don't think too many people around here riding skateboards, so I think that'll be like a waste.
They're just ideas. Nothing has been approved. I don't have estimates for it yet. It's just like a dog park. I would like to see a
I
dog
can
park, a
understand the
skating
dog park,
rink.
but I'm just saying,
So,
when you're talking about skate park, that's a waste of money. Nobody's around here doing that.
Councilman Garcia?
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you for bringing up the dog park, because I know it's been brought to me many times, and I know a dog park would be great. And matter of fact, it's minimal cost for a dog park. You just got to fence it off. I know other cities that do it. They charge some of the residents. Some of our residents here from East Chicago go to the other dog parks. They got a code to get in. They get in. There's little baggies and stuff like that, but to me, it's so minimum. You just got to fence in the area, put some benches in and stuff like that. So I think that's something you should really consider in the future, in the near future.
And that's why I kind of said, let's do it in the three main parks, so it's citywide. So, I get what you're saying, some of the parks doesn't have more than others, but at least you're spreading them into three major ones, so, it's fair for all the residents to go and use it. But Councilwoman Orange.
I'm a dog lover at all, 100%. I love dogs. But I'm going to tell you, there's a big liability with dog parks, and you have to be very, very careful. People think that is just, and you can talk to Trustee Mervan about the dog parks, the liabilities, how much insurance you have to have for that, and making sure people that bring their dogs there have their shots, and that you have to make sure, because you can't tell a person that they can't bring a pit bull in because it's a public park. So it's a nice thought, but you have to make sure that all your ducks in a row, because people will sue you for a little bit of anything, and so you have to be careful with them dog parks. And even if there's a virus that's going around, which I think happened in Highland, where it was that neurovirus that happened, and people were looking at the dog parks, talking about suing the people that put them up. So you have to be very, very careful. I'm for a dog park, but I'm saying that let's make sure we put all of our ducks in a row before we get one.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
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 Dog park, yes.
Ordinance 19-0008, sponsor Councilwoman Hilda Orange and Councilman Kenneth Monroe. An ordinance establishing a truancy court and affirming parental responsibility for school attendance within the city of Chicago.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilwoman Vasquez, to hear ordinance 19-0008. Was that first or second reading, Councilwoman Orange?
It's the first reading because our legal counsel needs to look at this ordinance to make sure everything is good. Okay.
To hear ordinance 19-0008 on first reading. Any discussion on the motion? Councilwoman Orange?
I thank my colleagues for approving us to put this on the agenda. This came about with myself and Councilman Monroe. Marcus Jefferson, who is the head coach of the boys basketball team, came to us and was saying that he had once been part of the truancy program in Gary when he was at Roosevelt. And he saw a need by him being the coach and being up at the school, how many kids were missing school on a daily basis. And he had brought us some statistics and looked at it, and I didn't realize that kids was missing 25 days a year out of school. That was just amazing to me. But if you miss 10 days out of school, then the school has a right to call Division of Family and Children and report your parents. Also, if you miss 40 days out of your 4 years of high school, you cannot graduate. So, and some of those kids are on the edge of doing that in their sophomore year. So they would wind up getting a blank diploma of having to ask for the state's permission to be able to graduate. I like I said, I didn't realize it because when we were growing up, we had truancy officers that came to our house if you weren't there. And he was so concerned about some of these kids being left behind, so it just started sort of a snowball effect. And we brought in different people, the mayor, the judge, and different organizations, North Township, anybody that would listen about these children missing school. And so the judge had said that we asked about a truancy court because when we went and talked to Judge Monroe in Gary, she has a truancy court where the parents, and this is not trying to put parents in jail for that, but a lot of parents may not even know the kids are missing this many days because they leave out the house going to work, and the older kids are supposed to get the kids off and they don't, or they miss the bus or something of that nature. And it's just to get them acclimated that your kids have to be in school, and if you can't be in school, and this is a twofold program because if you're out of school, then you're in trouble, then the police department is involved, and, kids vandalize and everything when they're not in school. So this is to try to make the parents, because we always say about the teachers are responsible for the kids, the superintendent, all that, but we don't make the parents responsible. So this is to help push along the parents and make sure that they send their children to school, because that's the first part of learning. And so this is an ordinance that would establish not only a truancy court, but also the responsibility of the parent on what they're supposed to be doing as a parent to make sure your child attends the school until they get old enough where they say they don't want to go anymore, or they're 18 years old and have graduated. So we put this on here so you get a chance to look at it and study it, and our counselor will also look at it. But I think it's very well put together, and we had a lot of different people put into thought of this ordinance, and hopefully it will pass and we can move on. And they're trying to do this by the school year in August, is to start this, and just to start the rollout with letting the parents know that the truancy court is coming. Truant officers will be knocking on your door if necessary if you did not send your children to school. If you need help, then Jimenez and Regional have stepped in and say, hey, there's a problem there, then these are the steps you have to go through to make sure that you don't get to this point where you lose your child. So,
Thank you. Councilman Monroe?
Just to my colleagues, this is a win-win situation for the city of East Chicago. The kids will win, parents, and also the city. So I urge you all to read it and give us your hindsight, but we also need your endorsement.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes, this has been a long time coming. We've been needing this for a long time because we have a high truancy rate here in the city. I just got one question. Who's going to be the head of the truancy court? Is it going to be our current judge?
it would be our current judge that, and she has agreed to set up her court for, I think Wednesday evening, so parents can attend it.
Yeah.
So she would be the one responsible. But also, we've asked Prosecutor Carter to come in because the kid missed 40 days. I mean, that's just crazy. I just can't even understand none of that. But if your kid's missing that kind of school, then there's something wrong somewhere. So, so there's a lot of people that have been brought in, a lot of people that are excited about it. Different judges have come on board to try to help us make sure it's a smooth transition. And like I said, it's not going to be perfect. You know, people are going to complain, but we can always come back and revamp it and things that didn't work. But the parents need to know that they're responsible for sending their kids to school.
Totally agree.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francis.
Yes. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances on second reading?
No.
Do we have any ordinances on third reading?
Yes, ordinance 19-0003, sponsored Mayor Anthony Colton. Additional appropriation ordinance for contractual services for roof repair projects for citywide city-owned buildings and the North Harbor facade program.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilwoman Vasquez. To hear ordinance 19-0003 on third reading. Any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francis.
Yes.
Ordinance 19-0006, sponsored Councilman Richard Medina. Ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of East Chicago, Indiana. At Title VII, Traffic Code, Chapter 71, Traffic Regulations, Section 140, stop intersections by adding two-way stop signs controlling northbound and southbound traffic on Paris Avenue at its intersection with 143rd
So move on third and final.
Second, Mr. President.
Motion was made by Councilman Medina, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to hear ordinance 19-0006 on third reading. Any discussion on the motion? Councilman Medina?
Again, I'd just like to thank my colleagues for supporting this on first and second reading. My study on this intersection continues. It's getting warmer, the parks are being used. Thank you for all the bike trails that we have. And it's a much-needed traffic enforcement there. It's for the safety of the kids, safety of the public, safety of us bicyclists. All around, it's a good thing, something we need to do.
Madam Clerk, roll call to adopt ordinance 19-0006 on third and final reading.
Walker,
Yes.
Basket,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francis.
Yes. Do we have any resolutions?
Yes, resolution 19-006, sponsored council members Myrna Maldonado, Rafa Garcia, Richard Medina, Kenneth Monroe, and Lilian Alcantara.
So moved.
Second, Mr. President.
Motion was made by Councilman Monroe, seconded by Councilman Medina, to hear resolution 19-0006. Have any comments? Councilman Garcia?
Yeah, I'd just like to read in its entirety, Mr. President. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of East Chicago supports Indiana public education funding to be brought forth and passed in this legislation session. Be it further resolved that the Common Council of the City of East Chicago asks Indiana State Legislature leaders, particularly Speaker of the House, Brian Bosman, and President Pro Tempore of the Senate, Ronnick Bray, to bring public education funding back to the floor of both chambers to provide more adequate funding. Be it further resolved that the Common Council of the City of East Chicago asks both chambers of the legislation to give public education funding a fair hearing and provide adequate financial support for our public schools.
You keep that up, Councilman, you're going to put the clerk out of a job.
I know she had a long day, so. But this is something that, as everybody knows, the Republicans downstate has cut education funding in their entire state. We'll be getting less dollars, and we need them to bring it back up.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Basket,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francis.
Yes, resolution passes.
Mr. President, because of the timing of this resolution and the fact that the General Assembly has education funding at the top of its discussion, I'd recommend that the council consider and pass a motion directing the clerk to forward a copy of the resolution to Speaker Bosma and President Pro Tem Ray, and I'd be happy to provide either the email address or the mailing address for those officials to the clerk.
So move.
Second.
So direct. Did you copy all that, Madam Clerk? Can you read it back? No, I'm just kidding. Can I get a vote on that, please? Roll call?
Walker,
Yes.
Basket,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francis.
Yes. Do we have any old business? Councilman Garcia?
Yes. Attorney Buscemi, did we get that shot spotter information in? I don't have it.
We're in the process of finalizing the specific parameters of the request, because there's a lot of, as we discussed, there's a lot of types of data available, and we're attempting to work through the city council the shot spotter and provide the data that will be of assistance to the council members.
Thank you.
Any other old business? I just want to thank United Bridge Partners and Klein Avenue Bridge. We did meet with their General Manager of Operations, which is Mr. Terry Veligan. He did give myself and my colleagues a tour of the upcoming bridge, which should be done in 2020. They're moving right along. I think they're doing a fantastic job, so I just want to tell him thank you for the tour. I don't know if my colleagues wanted to anything else to say about that. Councilwoman Orange. Correct, they are giving tours out to the public as well. Councilman Medina?
Where's my photo?
He did not send them to me yet, but I'll make sure you get it.
Thank you.
I got mine.
Moving on to new business. Do we have any new business? Councilman Garcia?
Eli, if you could send a letter to our police chief, if you could give us the crime stats for 2018, and then if you could give us the crime stats for the first quarter of 2019. I know we have 4 murders already, and I would like to know the stats for 2018 and then the first quarter for 2019.
Any other new business? Moving on to public. Councilman Garcia?
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Man, almost had it.
We have a letter here from Jasmine Sarnikovic. She's a 6th grader at Lincoln School. She's one of 4 Lincoln School students picked to go to West Point this May, and they're looking for fund to help fund. They're looking for donations. So I'm going to just read this letter real quick. I'm a 6th grade student at Lincoln Elementary School in East Chicago. My classmates and I applied to go to camp at West Point Academy in New York. Now, it's just any camp. It's a STEM camp. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. In January, with the help of our teachers, we filled out and submitted our applications. Have some very exciting news to share with you. Last week, we found out that 4 students from our school got accepted. The 4 students are me, Sarlika Glory, Odom, Jacqueline Becerra, and Malika Anthony. We'll be attending camp May 28th through May 31st. Believe it or not, less than 20% of the students who apply get accepted, so we consider this to be a great opportunity. The West Point Academy STEM program is a unique program that offers students currently in 6th and 7th grade the opportunity to participate in hands-on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics activities taught by academic faculty and cadet mentors. Our school is seeking funding assistance for all or some other following to help the trip possible: cost of round-trip airfare from Chicago to Newark, including airport shuttles, costs of required supplies for STEM programs and other travel necessities, additional travel expenses and leisure activities. The total cost of the trip is an estimated $8,500. The estimate cost includes chaperone and student expenses. Any donation would be greatly appreciated and will help provide Jasmine Shakin and the other 3 students with this lifetime opportunity. To make a donation or for questions, please feel free to contact my assistant principal, Linda Padilla, 391-4096. The email is included in the letter. All donations can be dropped off or mailed to Lincoln School Elementary. I think at least I provided all the council with a letter. Thank you. But it's a great opportunity. There's 4 students from the city of Chicago that's going to go to West Point, and that's, like she says, a lifetime experience.
Thank you. Moving on to public expression, if you could please keep your comments to 3 minutes. I believe we do have one. Mrs. Stephanie Powell, please approach. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Powell, and I appreciate everybody's time. I just want to bring forth a situation that's going on, not just in my neighborhood, but throughout the city. And no one can tell me that it's not, because my job takes me throughout the city. I know most of you all know who I am. These kids, so you talked about the situation with the schools and that, and I agree with you, but like my mother used to say, discipline starts at home, then it goes abroad. Something has to be done about these kids. I wake up yesterday morning, go outside, and somebody was taking stakes out of my gate, and I had to say to myself, who does that? Well, what do you mean, who does that? I had to even answer myself, people who aren't raising their kids. That's who does that. I talked to the chief of police, and, everybody has a forum on Facebook, and a lot of us, we talk, and somebody was saying, let's get a petition together. I mean, what good is a petition? If you're going to do anything, let's get together and get a plan. And that's why I asked the chief, if we come together, a lot of us citizens of East Chicago, and come to you with a plan, will you help us enforce it to do something with these kids? I mean, they're terrible. Walk in the middle of the street. Like I said, I live between McDonald's and Washington Park. I mean, we need to do something. I'm sure we all listen to the news, and you see how crime is running rapid in Chicago with these kids doing whatever they want. And yeah, I mean, people want to put the blame on the police officers or put the blame in the school. If you want to put the blame anywhere, you need to put it in the home, because that's, like I said, it starts there. And if we don't do anything and we come out and we just run these kids away and not running them in, it'll be the same old every day. Then people want to know, well, why did little Johnny get shot and killed? Well, hey, what was little Johnny, 12 years old, doing out at 2:30 in the morning to be shot and killed? So once again, we got to start doing more than just talk. We had to put things in action. Where you say you want to make these parents responsible, then do it. Either start, I know we have some kind of ordinance where they fine people's kids when they do stuff, and you find out that you fine them. But, I mean, maybe you need to take it a little step further, because a lot of these young women, I mean, and men, you ask them where your man is, they'll know that, but where's your kid? And I bet you they won't know that. So I'm just asking you, I'm tired of all this stuff that's going on in these streets, and these kids, we need to enforce some kind of curfew or something. And like I said, I talked to the chief of police and the deputy chief, and they are awesome. They're willing to work with the public. And like I said, tell people, we have to come to them with a plan. And then hopefully we all can enforce it. But we're going to need you guys' help too to set up something, to do something, because, I can see us having a Chicago situation on our hand. And I'd like to thank the city of East Chicago, Mr. Reed and Doug and ma'am, you, the director of the park, because I'm enjoying how our city is. And you brought up Nunez
Sorry,
Park.
ma'am, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Medina, seconded by Councilman Monroe. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Yes.
Basket?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Francis?
Yes. Good night.
No, that was tricky. Yeah, that was tricky.
Good night, Irene.